Who do you think are the most underrated heroes in the current patch? When we say underrated, it means they are more valuable than most people think, but don't get the recognition or attention they deserve. So in this video, we're going to discuss them one by one and share their updated builds. Starting with the roamers, we've got Carmilla. Carmilla is one of the most underrated roamers because her ultimate, Curse of Blood, is actually one of the most overpowered skills in the game. Because with just one well-timed cast, it can turn the game around. It's very solid, especially when paired with heroes that have multiple stuns, because once the main target is crowd controlled, every enemy linked to them will also be crowd controlled. And not only that, the linked targets, even if not hit directly, will still take 50% of the damage as long as they remain linked to your main target. Her second skill is also a big help for getting close to enemies, as it gives you a movement speed boost and a stun, making it the perfect partner for her ultimate. And actually, her second skill was even buffed recently. The movement speed now only starts to gradually slow down after 2.5 seconds, making her faster than before. Her passive was also buffed, reducing its cooldown to just 3 seconds. This means that even with only one enemy hero, she can now easily reach the full 5 stacks, giving her 55 hybrid defense at max stacks, which is equal to having 2 defensive items. But since her passive steals magical and physical armor, it's limited to only 1 stack per hero, because stealing all 5 stacks from just one target would be too overpowered. To make it clear, check out Zilong's magical and physical defense drop from 0 to -11, which is the maximum Carmilla can steal from him, but her stacks can still reach 5, which is the maximum stack of her passive. That's why Carmilla's passive is so strong right now in the early game, because of how much defense you can gain. Even though it's only 7 hybrid defense per stack at early levels, it's already a huge advantage since you're also reducing the enemy's defense. For her spell, Petrify is the best choice since you can combo it with her ultimate. Here is her full item and emblem setup. You can also prioritize Thunderbelt first, but Dominance Ice is a must if the enemy has a healer, a hero with high HP regeneration, or an attack speed type hero. Next is the newly revamped Grock. I was actually planning to include the old Grock in this list before his revamp, but since he's already been revamped, I decided to include him anyway. The new version of Grock has improved a lot, especially his ultimate, which now has a wider range, making it a very solid skill for setting up fights. What's even more surprising is how strong his ultimate's damage is now. It can even pull off a one-hit combo on a squishy target. A lot of players are also using Grock as a damage type in the XP lane, so I tried it myself, and look at how much damage he can do. One of his best partners is Carmilla, because Grock's ultimate can provide both stun and damage in team fights. Also, Grock's new first skill can now be combined with Flicker to surprise enemies, which is great since it has a long foreswing and backswing time. You can also use this as a part of his combo. Wall, skill 1 Flicker, then ultimate basic attack. Meanwhile, his ultimate Flicker combo is still effective, especially if the target is already close to a wall. Here's the emblem and item setup for him when playing as a damage type. And here's the setup for Roam Grock. I personally think Roam Grock is the better choice, since even top players go on losing streaks when they play him as damage type. Now for the mages, we have Kadita, who is currently ranked 13th in win rate among all heroes and #1 among all mages. Kadita is one of the most underrated mages right now, because a lot of players think she's hard to pull off or too situational, always relying on landing her full combo to be effective. But the truth is, her burst damage, crowd control, and mobility are really hard to deal with, especially now that her ultimate can no longer be cancelled by any crowd control except suppress. Another great thing about Kadita is that she doesn't rely on her teammates to set up ambushes, which makes her perfect for solo rank. But if you're playing duo or trio, it's best to have a teammate who can set up plays so you can make full use of Kadita's skills. For her combo, it's still very basic and nothing has changed. As for her playstyle, it's best to stay out of the enemy's sight so they'll feel pressured and threatened about where you might come from. Here's her full item and emblem setup, and it's up to you if you want to go for Sky Piercer. Next, we have Luo Yi, a mage often underestimated by many players, especially after the recent nerf to her ultimate. But the fact that she has insane burst damage that comes with multiple stuns makes her a real threat, and the only thing you need to worry about is aiming, since her first skill requires precise aim and is super crucial to land. It's only the very first skill 1 that you really need to hit, because once it connects, it's easy to follow up with skill 2 and the next skill 1 since the target is already stunned. It's also better if the target is near creeps or minions, since Luo Yi's first skill can pass through and hit from behind. And about her ultimate that got nerfed, yeah, the enemy can now see her whenever she uses diversion, but take note that they still can't see where you're going or who's coming with you. So you can still use diversion strategically, making the enemy constantly guess where it will land and putting pressure on them, because even if they know, they still have no choice but to prepare for it. Just remember to always cast your ultimate from a bush so the enemy won't see where you'll land. Or you can use the edges of the map that can't be reached, since they can't see it either, to catch them off guard. It's also better if you have a duo roamer so you can rotate faster, as Luo Yi's early game wave clear is a bit slow. For her items, you really need a book to avoid running out of first skill stacks and mana. Next we have Ixia, who is always at the bottom in terms of popularity. Actually, a lot of players think Ixia is weak, which is why many avoid picking her, but they overlook the fact that her poke and slows are incredibly solid.
Double kill.
And for those who don't know, her skills recently got buffed. Her passive now works better in fights, granting her a shield every time she deals damage to an enemy. And that shield is a huge help, especially if you're always the enemy's target lock, giving you more survivability and kiting capability. They also lowered the cooldown of her first skill, and even though its damage was reduced, it's actually a great buff to her late game capability, because with max cooldown reduction, it almost feels like you have unlimited first skill. These two buffs are a huge help for her in early game skirmishes, especially with the faster cooldown on her first skill, meaning more shields every time you hit an enemy. They also increase the slow and the attack count of her ultimate. There are two popular builds for Ixia right now. One is the max cooldown build, but I prefer the burst type since her first skill cooldown is already fast. Now for the junglers, we have Alucard, who is extremely underrated. A lot of players think he's only for low ranks, but you'll be surprised at how strong he really is once you see how broken his skills are. In fact, he currently ranks 6th in overall win rate among all heroes, and holds the top spot among all junglers, proving he is the most effective jungler right now. And what's even crazier is that he's starting to get banned in high ranks because of how broken he is, especially in solo queue. Alucard also has a ton of dashes, and his mechanics are much easier compared to other junglers. And let's be honest, even if you just use whatever skills are available and weave in basic attacks between them, he can still dominate the game without needing complicated execution. So imagine if you actually master this hero, it's going to be a disaster for the enemy team, and there's nothing they can do to stop a raging monster like Alucard. All you need to remember is to use your first skill before casting your ultimate, so you can close the gap to your target, since the cooldown of his first skill will also be reduced after using his ultimate. And of course, the most important thing is his passive, because aside from giving extra damage on every skill followed by a basic attack, it also grants a dash, which is one of the most broken passives in the game, especially since with his ultimate active, he basically has unlimited skills and unlimited dashes. And take note that Alucard's ultimate is important, as it gives 20 hybrid defense per enemy hit at max level. So hitting 5 heroes grants 100 magical and physical defense, equal to 3 to 4 defensive items instantly. But there are situations where you have to activate your ultimate without hitting a target, just to speed up the cooldown of your first and second skills so you can quickly close in on a clash. There is still a lot more to talk about Alucard, so we'll just give him his own solo video in one of our upcoming uploads. For now, here's his setup. Next is Aamon, who is slowly starting to rise in the higher ranks. A lot of players say what happened to Aamon wasn't really a buff, but a nerf, since his unlimited minus 0.5 second cooldown from every enhanced basic attack was removed and changed to work just one time only. People But actually, they did this so Aamon wouldn't be too reliant on basic attacks and would play more like a true in-and-out assassin. And the results turned out great, as he's now number 12 in overall win rate and number 6 in most banned heroes in high rank, proving just how strong Aamon is right now. Because if you didn't know, the stacks under his HP now fill up much faster while in his camouflage state, letting him charge them quicker. And they also lowered the cooldown of all his skills. Aside from that, they also increased the speed boost from his passive, which is why Aamon is now feared even more. They decided not to buff Aamon's damage, since it's already very high, but the cooldown reduction on all his skills is a big deal, along with making his first skill much smoother to use. So Aamon's bonus movement speed, while in camouflage, is now 80%, which is a huge jump from 60%, making him feel like Jinwoo already. And people just haven't fully realized it yet, since there aren't many videos about him on the internet. And to be honest, I can't really find any videos about him that are helpful. Most of them are pretty useless, so I don't have much to contribute when it comes to his tips and tricks. A lot of people say 12 stacks is enough since it already deals high damage, but his ultimate clearly states that the damage is calculated based on the number of shards you have before casting it. So, all you need to remember is the lower the enemy's HP, the higher the damage, and it gets even better with more stacks. This is the complete item and emblem setup that Kairi used in MSC, but you can also go for Sky Piercer and even Wind Talker, which a lot of players are building now as well. And one more thing, you can actually dodge Aamon's ultimate damage with Flicker, just like what Sanford did in their match. Next is Alice, who is really underrated right now. A lot of players still ignore Alice, even though we all know how strong she is right now. You can bring out Alice's full potential if you have Angela as your duo, because the combo is so unfair that you can even dive under turrets without worrying. It almost feels like a boss fight once Alice gets to farm early, so never let her free farm, because the higher her level, the stronger the healing she receives from her passive. So, at max level, you get plus 15% healing received, and the good thing is other heals, like Angela's, are also affected by her passive, which makes Angela the perfect partner for Alice. So, if you have a duo and haven't tried this yet, make sure to do it before Alice gets revamped, because you'll definitely regret not experiencing it. Alice has a lot of item and emblem variations, but I suggest the version with Brute Force since it got buffed. As for Sky Piercer, that's up to you if you want to include it. Now for gold laners, we have Ixia. After her several buffs prior to her Metro Zero skin, we expected her to rise in popularity, but she still remains under the radar. But one thing for sure is that one well-timed ultimate can completely turn the game around, which is exactly why she's on our underrated list. Although her ultimate does require precise timing to land effectively, it still poses a huge threat to the enemy team, forcing them to spread out and avoid grouping. One wrong move from the enemy, and they can be wiped out in an instant, especially if you've got a teammate who can set things up. One of Ixia's best partners is Carmilla, who's also on our underrated list. Others include Tigreal, Minotaur, Atlas, or any other tank with strong initiation skills. It's much better if you have a duo when playing Ixia, so you can fully maximize her full barrage. That way, even if you get caught, it's easier for your team to counter set up. Ixia is also very strong in the laning phase when played solo, so she's definitely a viable pick on solo rank. Here's her complete item and emblem setup. Tenacity is very useful during the laning phase, as it provides a bit of damage reduction. Next on our list is Natan. I was actually surprised that he's now ranked number 4 in terms of highest win rate in high ranks. His recent buff really had a huge impact on his performance. And of course, I'm pretty sure you have encountered an enemy Natan and got shocked by the insane damage he can dishes out in the mid to late game. And even early on, Natan can be a real headache with his skills, especially that second skill, which throws people off and frustrates a ton of players. And now, with the recent buff to his first skill, it's even stronger and smoother to use. In case you didn't know, Natan got a super solid buff, His skill 1 now has lower cooldown, and the backswing on both skill 1 and 2 was removed, so they feel way smoother to use, especially right after his ult. Now you can spam skill 1 and 2 way faster, and even the basic attack right after feels quicker too. And that's not all. The adjustment to his passive is a huge help too. You now retain your stacks as long as you keep landing hits. Even though they reduce the duration, this change is a massive buff overall. This means you can stay aggressive longer during trades or team fights without worrying too much about losing momentum. On top of that, Nathan's ultimate has a super short cooldown, so you can keep using it freely to maximize his burst potential. While he's not banned yet, I highly suggest mastering Nathan, because if the stats don't lie, he's currently the most effective gold laner in the high rank right now. Here's Nathan's full item and emblem setup, and since Inspire now works with magic-based basic attacks, it's up to you if you want to run it. Now let's move on to Melissa. Technically, she ranks number 4 among marksmen with the highest win rate, right behind Wanwan, a clear sign of how underrated she really is. It's honestly terrifying when Melissa places her dolls perfectly, especially Muddles from her second skill, because she can wipe out entire teams in seconds. Once enemies are linked, her damage just melts through their HP bars, and they barely have time to react. And if things get messy, her ultimate can instantly create a safe zone that pushes enemies back, making it nearly impossible for melee heroes to dive her or secure a solo kill. In the early game, Melissa can already pressure her lane with precise pokes and smart trades with her skills, making enemies think twice before stepping into her range. If I'm not mistaken, Melissa has already seen action in several international tournaments, proving that with the right hands and strategy, she is more than capable of being a viable pick in the pro scene. Warcry works really well with Melissa because it boosts her damage as she keeps landing hits with her skills, particularly when paired with a crit build. This is her full item and emblem setup. Although her base movement speed was nerfed, she still performs well even without boots. But if you don't have a good support, you might struggle. So boots are a must. Moving on to the EXP lane, we have Minsi. Minsi is the low-key universal counter to almost any hero, especially meta heroes, because as we all know, the current meta is dominated by picks that rely heavily on dashes, blinks, and high mobility to gain an advantage. Especially Wanwan, who's currently one of the strongest picks in the gold lane, completely loses her value with just one well-timed ultimate from Minsi. The main issue with Minsi is that his item build leans more toward marksman items, which makes him a bit squishy during clashes. And because of his marksman-style build, Minsi can easily burst down squishy enemies, since his skill 2 scales with attack speed, melting targets before they even get the chance to react. His skill 2 was also recently buffed, fixing its cooldown at 4 seconds. This makes it incredibly strong in the laning phase, allowing him to trade more often and apply constant pressure. Here's his full item build. Next one is Guinevere. Right now, Guinevere doesn't get the credit she deserves. In solo rank, she's a beast, especially when it comes to deleting squishies. Her stun is so unfair that also acts as mobility. Not only is it easy to land, but the knockup lasts long enough for her to burst you down with basic attacks or her extremely painful skill 1. It becomes even more surprising when paired with Flicker, because you don't expect the dash distance to be that long. You can also use Winter Crown while using your ultimate. It's super useful for tower dives. And take note that even if your skill 2 misses, you can still knock up your target with your ultimate as long as they've built up 3 stacks. Timing and precision are really all you need when playing Guinevere, but since you're using a damage build, you'll need a solid tank to provide a front line. There are many variations of her build, and this is one of the item and emblem setups I recommend for her. Next up is Masha. Masha is one of those underrated heroes who never fails to make it to our list of best picks for solo rank, because we all know just how powerful she really is. Actually, even pro players are afraid when Masha is picked in ranked matches, since she can easily pick off enemies, especially because she doesn't get stunned whenever one of her HP bars is removed. She's also a solid counter to tanky meta EXP laners like Uranus, since her first skill deals damage based on HP, letting her shred even the tankiest opponents. Masha may feel a bit weak in the early game, but she becomes way stronger once you hit the late game, especially if you already have 2 core items or full HP bars. And that's all for this video, but make sure to stay tuned for my next upload, because while making this one, I discovered the secret of the top 1 Melissa player, and trust me, you don't want to miss it.